Okay, so we've got the third day of lesson 9-6. And so the difference between this day and the first day is that we had equal signs before and now we have inequalities. So here's how we have to set up an inequality. Here's the problem, but here are the steps that we're going to do. You first have to say the excluded values, then you're going to just solve it, and then you're going to make an interval line, and we're going to test it to see what works. So copy this all down into your notebook. And so the first thing we have to do is state the excluded values. So an excluded value is anything that would make the denominator 0, just like when we were doing our asymptotes. So we have an excluded value at 0, because if I put 0 in there, that would make me divide by 0. Okay, then what we do is we work with an equal sign. I'm going to space this out just a little bit more. Oh, I wrote that wrong. And we change that to an equal sign. And we need to find what is the least common denominator. So the least common denominator out of this would be 9k. And so we can multiply both sides, or all sides, by 9k. Now we can look to see what cancels. K's cancel, and a 3 would cancel out. This case, 9k's completely cancel. In this case, just the 3's cancel. So we end up with 3 plus 2 equals 6k. All right, then continuing to solve, we get 5 equals 6k. So divide by 6, and k equals 5, 6. Okay, so then what we need to do is to draw our interval line. So our interval line looks like this. We need to put a 0 in for our excluded value, and we put in 5, 6 for our answer. Then what we're going to do is just pick points anywhere in here. And we're going to test them out to see if it works. So you're going to do this part in your head or on your calculator, but I'm going to show it all on the notes just so that you can kind of see what I'm doing here. So let's pick a point that's less than 0. So you can pick any point. We're going to try -1. So you'd go 1 over 3 times -1 plus 2 over 9 times -1. And is that less than 2/3? So you get 1 over -3 plus 2 over -9. Is that going to be less than 2/3? Well, calculate those two together then. Hopefully we can see that it's going to be negative since they're both negative when we're adding them. But if you just type that into your calculator, you get -5/9. And yes, that's less than 2/3. So this statement is true right there. Okay, let's test between 0 and 5, 6. So let's try out a half. Okay, so I put 1/2 in there. So 1 plus 3 times a half, and 2 times 9 times a half, and is that less than 2/3? Okay, so what is 1 over, I'm just going to type this as, or I'm sorry, 1.5, because this is just a quick check, that's not any formal work that we're doing. 2, and then that would be 4.5, less than 2/3. So then add those two fractions together, and you end up getting 1.11. Is that less than, well, 2/3 is 0.66, repeating. So no, that's false. That section doesn't work. Okay, then we have to pick something over greater than 5, 6. So just pick one, nice easy number. So that would be 1 over 3 times 1 plus 2 over 9 times 1. Is that less than 2/3? So 1/3 plus 2/9 is going to be less than. It's going to be 5/9. and that is less than 2/3 because that's 0.5 repeating. 2/3 is 0.6 repeating. It's less than, so that's true. So then what we do is we have to write out what our answer is. Our answer is this segment right here and this segment right here. So k can be less than 0 or k is greater than 5/6. That is our answer to this problem. Okay, let's try one more. This one's going to be a little harder because we've got polynomials rather than just monomials in the denominator. So first thing is state the excluded values. Our excluded values are going to be -4 from right here and -10 from right there. All right, then we need to solve it. And I'm going to rewrite this again just to have a little bit more space. And we have to multiply by our least common denominator. So our least common denominator is going to be x plus 4, x plus 10. So we multiply that in. And then you cancel out groups. All right, so now we have two groups left up here to FOIL. So we get x squared for the first two. Outside is 10x. Inside, minus 2x. Last two is minus 20. That equals, now we have two more groups. First two, you get x squared. Outside is 4x. Inside is 1x. Last two is 4. Okay, I'm going to combine some things together. So plus 8x minus 20 and plus 5x plus 4. All right, so then drop down our line, and I notice here that the x squareds are going to cancel out. That's going to make it a lot easier for us, because then we can just solve this as a linear equation. So I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. And at the same time, let's get rid of the 20 by adding 20. So you end up with 3x equal to 24. So x equals 8. So now we go back to our number line. And now we have several different values to do. We have to do -10, -4. Those are from our excluded values. And we need to do 8. So we have to pick a point on each side of it. So we have to pick something over here, over here, over here, and over here. That we substitute back in. So let's test these out. With the -10 one, let's go with, I don't know, -12. So we're going to do -12 minus 2 over -12 plus 4. And is that greater than -12 plus 1 over -12 plus 10? So this becomes -14 over -8. Is that greater than -11 over -2? Well, this becomes just 1.75. And this one becomes 5.5. So is that greater? No, that's a false. Okay, so let's try the next one then. Somewhere in between there. Let's try -6. So we go -6 minus 2 over -6 plus 4. Is that greater than -6 plus 1 over -6 plus 10? Okay, we're going to work this one down. So 4 is greater than -5/4. So that is a true statement right there. All right, the next one. this one is an easier one because it's 0. So let's pick 0 to put in there. So basically that becomes negative 2 over 4. Is that greater than 1 over 10? Well, a negative is not greater, so that's a false statement. And then the last one. Pick something greater than 8. How about 10? So we would do 10 minus 2 over 10 plus 4. Is that greater than 10 plus 1 over 10 plus 10? So 8 over 14. Is that greater than 11 over 20? So if we divide those out, they're getting pretty close. 0.57. Is that greater than 0.55? Yes, it is, just barely. So that's true. So our answer lies right here and right here. So now we need to write out our answer. So x can be in between negative 10 and 4. So again, this is how you write it. Negative 10 to negative 4, put x in between, and use less than symbols. Or x could be greater than 8. That is our answer for it. Okay, why don't you go to the left page and try out this problem. And then that is the end of lesson 9-6 finally, so you can go ahead and write your summary and your questions and let me know when you get to class if you have any other questions.